Yeah, I'll react to that, sure. Okay, hey guys. Um, let's watch. My name's Connor. If you're new, I like to learn things. See you in history. It's an amazing channel name. Um, the Soviet weapons of World War II. A few days ago, I watched the British version of this title, The British Weapons of World War II. It was a great video, and I'm curious now to see what the Soviets had. So let's get right into it.
During the Second World War, the Soviet Union faced and defeated the Germans in history's bloodiest battles. To achieve success in the Great Patriotic War, the Soviets had to rely on and develop equipment for infantry, thus facing the most modern and experienced army in the world at the time.
Guys, I did read a lot of your comments in the British version of the video that I did a few days ago. Thank you for that. Answered a lot of my questions. One of the things I didn't ask, and I'm probably still going to have a lot of questions this video, is
in today's video,
I'll point it out later in the video. Sorry.
We will look at the weapons most used by Red Army soldiers during World War II.
Right here. This thing on the bottom. So it makes me think of like the musket rod would have, that like you pull it out and then you jam down the musket ball, right? But obviously this is a breech loading rifle that doesn't do that. So is this an extra gas escape so that the barrel doesn't explode or something like that?
Mosin Nagant M1891 rifle was one of the most iconic weapons of the Soviet infantry during the Second World War. Designed in the late 19th century, its sturdiness and reliability made it a valuable option for the extended conflict. The Mosin Nagant was a bolt gun with a standard capacity of 5 shots. It had an effective range of up to 800 meters, ideal for combat at medium and long distances. It's
800 meters. Meters bigger than a yard, so that's like over 8 football fields.
Strengths were its simplicity and durability,
which is super far.
And it could withstand extreme conditions on the Eastern Front. But it had limitations. Its old-fashioned design required slow reloading and low-velocity ammunition, making it inefficient in close combat situations. Moreover, the lack of modern safety mechanisms was a risk for less experienced soldiers. Despite its weaknesses, the Mosin Nagant was a symbol of Soviet resistance, with millions of units produced during the conflict. The PPSH-41
Question. So it looks like a pretty small scope and interestingly attached. I was going to ask a question about this, but that's to change the sight, right? So does a longer scope necessarily mean a more accurate scope? Because maybe like you can have more, I don't know what the inside of a scope looks like, but I'd imagine there are some magnifying things, and maybe a longer scope would have more of them. I don't know. I'm just like, just because it's a small scope, does that necessarily mean it's going to be a worse one?
It's produced during the conflict. The PPSH-41 subcompact machine gun, designed by Georgy Shipagin, became one of the Red Army's most iconic weapons. Its high rate of fire and reliability in harsh conditions were vital for the Russians in the conflict. The PPSH-41 fired 7.62 by 25 millimeter ammunition in a 71-round drum magazine, or a 35-round box magazine. It had a remarkable rate of fire of 900 rounds per minute, ideal for close-range combat, especially in
900 rounds per minute? What's 600 rounds per minute would be 10 rounds a second. So 900, so that'd be like 15 rounds per second. How big was the magazine?
Or a 35-round millimeter ammunition in a 71-round drum.
So you could empty it in less than 5 seconds. So if you held down that thing for 5 seconds, you could release like 75 bullets, 72 bullets or whatever. I doubt they did it. I'm sure it was more bursts, but that's crazy.
Drum magazine, or a 35-round box magazine.
And it looks awesome.
It had a remarkable rate of fire of 900 rounds per minute, ideal for close-range combat, especially in urban settings. But it also had drawbacks. Accuracy was limited, especially at longer ranges, and the high rate of fire could quickly deplete ammunition. In addition, the drum magazine was heavy and could be difficult to reload under pressure. Despite this, the PPSH-41's cost-effective production and ease of use helped offset the weaknesses. It became a benchmark weapon of the Soviet resistance, with over 6 million units produced during the war.
This is a big thing I notice about the Allies in World War II, is that often they didn't have the best. I mainly think of like the U.S. and the Soviet Union. Like when I think of like the greatest technology or the greatest weapons and vehicles in World War II and tanks, I don't think of the Soviets or the Americans. But what I do think of with the Soviets and Americans is just, okay, if you have, like, if one Tiger tank is better than is worth like 4 Sherman tanks, well, then we would just make 5. And then another more, and so it's just more and more. And it seems like that's the kind of philosophy of that one was just outproduction. It's like you might have better stuff, but the Allies just like, okay, more. Seemed to be the winning strategy.
The PM M1910 heavy machine gun was a weapon used by the Red Army during the Second World War.
Anything I'm saying is wrong, obviously.
Originally adopted by the Imperial Russian Army in 1910, it kept its usefulness throughout several decades of conflict. The PM M1910 used powerful 7.62 by 54 mm ammunition and was water-cooled, allowing for a continuous rate of fire without overheating. This machine gun was usually placed in fixed defensive locations or on vehicles, providing devastating fire support for Soviet infantry. But the PM M1910 had downsides. It was heavy and impractical for rapid movement on the battlefield. The water cooling system, while effective, also required additional maintenance and could be vulnerable to enemy fire.
Oh, like it could hit it? Did they know about like liquid nitrogen back then? Could they do that? Or would that just like freeze the barrel and make it crack or something? And it's probably not very available, so I'm realizing how unpractical that is as I'm saying it.
Despite these limitations, the PM M1910 was crucial to Soviet defense during World War II. Its ability to maintain continuous fire and suppress enemy positions was a determining factor in many battles on the Eastern Front. The Degtyaryov light machine gun was crucial to the Red Army during the Second World War. Developed by Vasily Degtyaryov in the 1920s, the DP-27 stood out for its reliability and simplicity. Firing the heavy 7.62 by 54 mm ammunition, the DP-27 had a distinctive drum magazine on top with a 47-shot capacity. The moderate rate of fire, at approximately 550 rounds per minute, helped keep the weapon relatively cool, minimizing overheating. But the drum magazine was bulky and time-consuming. Additionally, the bipod was fixed and fragile, limiting this weapon's versatility and durability on the battlefield. But the DP-27 was highly valued for its robustness and dependability. It could withstand dirt, mud, and extreme weather conditions, vital features on the harsh battlefields of the Eastern Front. The Degtyaryov became an iconic weapon of the Soviet resistance during the Second World War. The Nagant M1895 revolver was another iconic weapon of the Red Army in World War II. Designed by Belgian brothers Emile and Léon Nagant, it had a reputation for being reliable and long-lasting. Equipped with a 7-shot cylinder, the Nagant M1895 used 7.63 by 38 mm ammunition, notable for crimping the barrel during firing, increasing the bullet's pressure and velocity. This allowed the use of a silencer, something rare in revolver.
Doing what? Crimping?
ammunition, notable for crimping the barrel during firing, increasing the bullet's pressure and velocity. This allowed the use of a silencer, something rare in revolvers. Although strong and reliable, the Nagant M1895 had weaknesses. Its double-action mechanism was heavy, making it difficult to fire quickly and accurately. Also, the single-shot ammunition was less powerful than the traditional ammo in contemporary revolvers. Still, the reliability and serviceability of the Nagant M1895 made it a popular choice among Soviet officers and sergeants, and it remained in service after World War II. The PTRS-41, designed by Sergei Simonov, was a semi-automatic anti-tank rifle used by Soviet forces during the Second World War. It was intended to neutralize enemy armored vehicles, a major challenge on the modern battlefield. The PTRS-41 fired the powerful 14.5 by 114 mm cartridge, capable of piercing the armor of light vehicles and tanks. The semi-automatic capability allowed a relatively fast rate of fire for an anti-tank rifle, crucial in high-pressure situations. Reloading could be cumbersome in difficult conditions, and the powerful ammunition caused rapid barrel wear. Soldiers using this weapon would target the less protected or vulnerable areas of armored vehicles, as it was ineffective against thicker armor. Despite these limitations, the PTRS-41 allowed Soviet soldiers to face the threat of enemy armored vehicles. The infantry had an anti-tank defense capability that, while limited, was better than nothing in many cases. The Tokarev TT-33 semi-automatic pistol was designed by Fyodor Tokarev in the 1930s. It was mass-produced to replace the Nagant M1895 revolver to modernize Soviet infantry during World War II. The TT-33 is loaded with an 8-shot magazine, firing 7.62 by 25 mm ammunition. Noted for its high exit velocity, this ammunition allowed for greater penetrating capability. The weapon was also known for its reliability and simplicity of construction and maintenance. But the lack of an effective safety catch in the original design was an obvious concern. While the ammunition was powerful, the ammunition capacity was limited. But the TT-33's reliability, firepower, and simplicity made it a revered and common weapon among.
I mean, it still seems like it's better in every way compared to the other pistol, this one.
Among Soviet forces. It is still remembered as a symbol of Soviet resistance during the war.
Familiar picture.
The F1 hand grenade became known as the Lemon for its unique shape. This fragmentation grenade was engineered to inflict maximum damage on the enemy, despite the relatively small explosive charge. The F1 contained about 60 grams of TNT, encased in a thick, segmented casing. When detonated, the casing fragmented into lethal pieces, projecting the shrapnel in every direction. It was an extremely effective weapon in trenches, bunkers, or other confined spaces.
So, a few questions about the look, the design of the casing, right? So immediately I'm thinking it's for grip, right? It would be easier to grip this and throw it more accurately and maybe safely with these ridges. But also, if you're testing the grenade, you're going to want, since the armor, the casing of the grenade is much thinner in these areas, it'll be more likely that that's where they break apart and you get a lot of pieces shattering in a bunch of directions rather than a uniformly thick casing that might shatter in like one big piece and then like two smaller pieces and then a bunch of micro pieces in unreliable directions. And so I'm assuming that that's the main reason, and then just it also gives nice grip. Let me know if I'm assuming wrong.
Lethal pieces, projecting the shrapnel in every direction. It was an extremely effective weapon in trenches, bunkers, or other confined spaces. But the F1 had limitations. The fuse delay time, roughly 3 to 4 seconds, could be unpredictable. This often prevented the fighter from making the throw smoothly and accurately. Despite the disadvantages, the F1 became a favorite weapon among Soviet forces. Its simplicity and lethality in close combat situations made it an essential component of the Soviet arsenal during World War II. The SVT-40 semi-automatic rifle, designed by Sergei Simonov, was a renowned weapon in the Red Army during the Second World War. Allowing Soviet soldiers a greater rate of fire, the SVT-40 was a significant breakthrough in infantry combat capability. The SVT-40 fired the 7.62 by 54 mm cartridge and had a standard capacity for 10 rounds and could be quickly reloaded via stripper clips. Its rate of fire and effective range made it a potent weapon in medium-range combat. But the SVT-40 had drawbacks. Although it was an advanced weapon, it was complex and delicate, requiring frequent maintenance and care. It was also more expensive and time-consuming to produce, making large-scale distribution difficult. Despite these challenges, the SVT-40 proved effective on the battlefield. Still, it was replaced by the more robust and easier-to-produce AK-47 after the war. During the conflict, the Soviets had plenty of work to do to modernize their arsenal while their country was under German onslaught. But the war improvements made the Red Army a military superpower. In your opinion, which of these weapons was most important for the Communists' triumph over the German army?
I mean, I can't tell you a serious opinion there. I would assume the one that was in the hands of most soldiers, which might be that first one. This one's really cool, but again, in close quarter combat. So I would assume this one. It seemed to have been the most made. And most other ones just seem to be more niche things, right? It's like, which one would you, if you had to have only one of the guns? Like, of course, it would suck to not have a lot of them, but I'm assuming the main infantry weapon would be this one. So that's what I would guess. Love you guys. Hope you're all doing well. Would appreciate any comments down below, any answers to my questions, calling me out if what I said was wrong. Go ahead. I recommend that. And hopefully I'll see you guys next time. Keep on learning. Bye, guys.